Hey everyone, my name is Emily and today I wanted to talk a little bit about my process recreating one of my first pieces I ever did in the app Procreate. So I'm going to show the piece I will be recreating today. I originally painted this back in 2016. I had just gotten my first iPad and I was super excited to get into digital art. I'd only ever really experimented with Paint Toolsci back in the day when DeviantArt was really big, and I never really got that used to doing digital art. It never really stuck for me. So this was the first time I decided to get back into things. So you can tell I got a little lazy with it. I was having some trouble, didn't know what brushes to use and whatnot. Also, is she floating? Like, what is beneath her knees? Like, I know she's probably a fairy, but I don't know what's going on there. So today I decided to take this same concept and recreate it. So let's jump into the process, and voiceover Emily is going to take over. So as with every piece I do, I usually start the sketching process traditionally in a sketchbook, and then I bring it into Procreate to flesh out and usually change it about 20 million times. So this particular sketch gave me a real run for my money. Going off the original, I knew I needed to change the pose, and so my first struggle was finding a good reference at the angle that I liked, in a pose that I liked, that would make sense for a fairy and a flower. It was actually quite hard to find the right pose, but once I found one I really liked, I messed around with it, but as you'll see, I messed with the sketch a lot. I have a hard time feeling satisfied with my work, especially the sketch, the pose, the style, and it usually leads me to fiddling around with things for hours. So in this piece, it probably took me the longest just to get the line work done, and once it came to coloring, it was a lot faster because that was where I had struggled the most. Even here, you can see me still reworking the sketch and also shifting between a couple different poses and sketches. I kind of wanted to see which one I liked best for the composition, and you could definitely see me having a hard time making a decision here. But around this point, I decided that I just needed to choose and start on the line work, because at this point, the sketching phase had probably taken hours upon hours, and it didn't look like I had really made much progress. So the next big challenge I faced was how I wanted to draw the background, and specifically the flower in the background. I looked at so many references, I tried to pick a specific flower, but this was so challenging for me. In the end, I ended up taking a very soft brush on Procreate and outlining shapes until I liked what I saw. Basically, filling the screen in a way that seemed pleasing, made sense, and had a composition that I liked. But I messed with this a lot. In fact, you can see in the playback that I'm also still messing with the pose because I was wondering if it would help with the composition of a flower. Going into this, I definitely did not predict that it would be quite so difficult for me to do this piece. Also, for those of you who are familiar with Procreate, the soft pastel brush is my best friend. That brush has saved me so many times. It has just the right texture, it's perfect for sketching, it gives me this great soft quality, and honestly, it hides a lot of mistakes as well. But this brush was helpful in me mapping out colors It was helpful for me to map out shapes. And as you can see here, it's what I mainly used for the line art. I actually used this brush both as the brush and the eraser, so I could also get soft lines as I needed to erase. And I was actually able to use that to get a nice effect with the background later on. Looking back at the footage, it's a wonder why I kept so much of the sketch portion in the video, but I think it's really important to highlight how long it really took me to map out just the base of the piece itself. Before I even added colors, before I even added final line work, I felt like I skipped around in this piece a lot because it was so challenging for me, and I just genuinely did not know what to do. And I took a lot of breaks with this piece because of that, because I needed time to sit and think and wonder how I was going to tackle it. And I feel like on social media, we don't always show the difficult side of art. We show the finished piece, not the hours it took to have even a base layer that you like. That being said, while I did struggle with this a lot, I actually think it helped me grow immensely artistically. I feel like I was able to push myself in ways that I haven't before due to fear, and I think my art in the future is going to be much better because I pushed, but I also took breaks and took my time to step away from the piece, to think and come back with a fresh mind and not out of frustration scrap the whole thing, start over, or finish it up in a way that I wouldn't be proud of later. I think it's shown me that taking my time really is worth it, because when I take my time, I end up with something that I didn't even expect I could create. I think total it took me a little over 13 hours, which is honestly a lot less than I thought it would be. Although that doesn't include the time I spent looking for references and sketching on paper before I even brought it into Procreate. I will mention that 13 hours was not within the span of a few days. It was in the span of a few weeks. Total, I probably spent around a month working on this, on and off, and honestly, that's what kept me motivated through this. If I had tried to push through all of the hard moments without a break, I don't think I would have finished this. Those breaks were so important. After taking some space from the piece, I was able to come back to it and try new techniques, try new colors, and just approach it a little bit differently. I really do think that it was a big reason why this piece turned out to be something that I'm very proud of in the end. You can actually see me playing with these different techniques, especially with the flower. I didn't know how I wanted to render it, and so I tried rendering each petal a little differently, and then picked the one I liked the best, and then used that technique on the rest of the flower. And ultimately, that worked really well. I also used different blending modes, brushes, and even the erase tool a lot differently than I normally do. So this piece also changed, in general, my workflow and how I might even approach future pieces. So another thing I think I noticed, and this has been true about me for a long time and true in places outside of art, but I'm very indecisive, especially right now, stylistically. I feel so torn with how I want to render things, Do I want things soft? Do I want things sharp? What kind of shape language do I want? Do I want it to be geometric? I just find myself so torn, and it's so difficult because there's so many different things that I like and admire in other artists. And I also have to choose between what is fun to create and what do I like the appearance of. This seemed to be a happy medium between the two. I definitely think it was a step in the right direction, but stylistically, I still feel like I'm trying to find my footing in what I like to create. So I think I've rambled enough. I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of the process, and then I'll come back in to compare the two pieces at the end. We are finally done. And as you can see, they are incredibly different. I mean, I hope that they would be, considering that 2016 was, 6 years ago? And I'm very happy that I've improved since then. But you can definitely see that not only has my digital art skill improved, but also just my art skill in general. And you know what? Sometimes you need to see this kind of difference in order to feel more confident about where you are now. And I think that is all today, everyone. Thanks for joining, and I hope to see you next time.